Hey guys, welcome to part two. Today, I'm gonna just continue on with this idea of good versus evil people. Now, it, I understand it. I get that, if there are certain people that you feel are working against your best interests or are harming you in some way, either financially, physically, if they're being abusive towards you, either directly or indirectly, then I understand the outrage. I understand wanting to put these people away forever. I understand that you may you may perceive a certain group of people a certain way. You perceive them as evil. You perceive them as the enemies. You perceive them as the bad guys. And I get it. People, it's exciting for most people to hold on to this idea and this concept of good versus evil. It's in movies, it's in TV shows, it's in books. I mean, it's exciting. I mean, think about, think back to your favorite superheroes when you were growing up. Think back to, me personally, my favorite was Power Rangers. And then I've also, was obsessed with, the DC comic heroes, the Marvel heroes. I liked Spider-Man. I liked X-Men. I liked, I liked Batman, Superman, the Incredible Hulk. But Power Rangers was the action, the kid show that I grew to love the most, because not only was it a group of people going up against bad guys or the villains, but they typically it was a group of about 5 or 6 people, and they all wore colored suits. They had a helmet on, which to this day I don't fully understand why or how you can have that on for a certain period of time, or how you can breathe out of those helmets. But that's what that's what they would wear. And of course, as if you guys are familiar with Power Rangers, how the villains and the monsters, when they grew 1,000 times what its normal size was, to destroy entire cities and to wipe out buildings and to annihilate people, when they would use their I forget what these were called. I think that they were like morphing, like you call into it and then a Megazord comes and they all hop onto this Megazord and they fight the villain. They completely destroy the big monster, right? I mean, that's exciting. And I was a huge fan of Power Rangers up until I was, I want to say 13. Most kids, I grew up in the late 90s, early 2000s. And around that time, if you were a boy over the age of 10, you were not cool if you still liked Power Rangers. You were still considered somebody who was not was not growing up, who was not interested or liking certain things that align with your so-called age group. But I liked Power Rangers, and I still do to this day. But I was obsessed with them up until I was 13 years old. But my whole point in bringing up Power Rangers is that I get the fascination. I get the excitement that comes when you go to see a movie, or when you're watching a TV show, or perhaps your favorite cartoon from when you were growing up. I get that it's exciting. You're always rooting for the good guys to win. You're always rooting for the bad guys to be destroyed, to be annihilated. right? Especially for young boys, you know, and even for grown men. That's why a lot of guys, you know, watch not just football, baseball, basketball, but they specifically like watching combat sports, you know, such as the UFC, such as, you know, boxing. And, you know, when I was growing up, wrestling was a big thing. You know, I think you and I, you know, I'm 33 years old. I'm sure that anybody who is around my age remembers when Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson would just fight a bunch of other dudes in his underwear. But, you know, wrestling was a huge deal at the time for me when I was growing up, much like it was in the 80s, you know. But it continued to be a very popular thing through the 90s and the early 2000s. I want to say up until the mid 2000s, until UFC really started to become more recognized and, you know, more popular. So going back to this whole idea of good versus evil, if you are caught up in the politics of it and you're rooting for one side over another, you know, you're placing your bet on the, you know, the candidate for governor, you know, depending on which state you're currently living in right now, you know, whoever you're, you know, if you are hoping that Donald Trump wins, if you are a huge Donald Trump fan, if you are just a total devout MAGA supporter through and through, if you know, or even if you are a liberal, or if you're a Democrat and you're rooting for AOC, or you're rooting for, you know, maybe you're even still a Bernie Sanders fan, you know, or, you know, you might be voting for Joe Biden, you know, for, you know, a second time. But whoever your hero is, just know that it's not that they're necessarily evil people. None of them are. I've come to the conclusion, I've talked about this in the first part of this series, that I do not believe within my heart of hearts, that any of the Republicans or any of the Democrats are inherently evil. I know that, I realize now that they mean well, that when they first got in, they had good intentions going in, but they just got completely corrupted by the system, you know, having lobbyists and everybody surrounding them, you know, whispering in their ear, hey, do this, do that, and you will get reelected. Do this, do that, and you will get a certain amount of, you know, it's just a cycle that keeps going on and on and on. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad people, but they are just completely caught up. And if you are voting for Trump this year, if you are a MAGA supporter and you think that Trump is above it all, trust me, he is not. He is just as much a part of the system and the status quo, just like everybody else. They are only painting this guy out to be the martyr and the guy that is getting crucified like Jesus. I mean, there are literally people right now that are worshiping this guy like he's God himself. And, you know, even to a smaller degree, you are worshiping this guy. You are looking at this guy like he is the ultimate savior. And this is often talked about in the book of Revelation. Now, am I saying that Trump is the Antichrist himself, or that Joe Biden is the Antichrist, or if Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton are the Antichrist? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. But what I am saying is that the Antichrist, you know, because he doesn't necessarily have to come down in the form of a man, he is everywhere. The Antichrist is already here, and I think a lot of people in the Christian community don't even realize it. They think that he has to be this man that comes down in his physical form as somebody else, and he's ruling all the. I mean, I'm sure that you've watched all the Left Behind movies, You saw the one with Gary Busey. Any movie that talks about the end times or the end of the world or the return of Jesus, the Antichrist, the mark of the beast. You were probably subscribed to this idea that he's already here, and he already has been here. It's just that now it's becoming more obvious. It's like there's this one movie that came out. I think it's called The Confidential with, or it might be something else. I'm not totally sure, but it has Kevin Spacey in it. And Kevin Spacey's character is being questioned by these detectives. And there's this very memorable quote that he states in the questioning, which is the biggest lie that the devil has ever told was that he doesn't exist. And more and more people are denying his existence or that he's even real, and he's becoming more and more apparent. It's Satan, guys. All of this nonsense that you're hearing about, certain people being a narcissist, like Trump is a narcissist, Joe Biden is a narcissist, these politicians are narcissists. Like you're watching all these videos ad nauseum about narcissism. Here are all the top 10 signs that somebody is a narcissist, and you should get away from them. They cannot be helped. There is no curing them. There is no helping them. It's best to just discard them like they're nothing, like they're trash. Those are not narcissists either. You are not narcissists. Everybody has narcissistic qualities. The only true narcissist to ever exist is Satan. Satan is legitimately the narcissist. And because 95% of people are unconscious, Satan is able to manipulate that pretty easily. And so you'll see Satan. I'm not saying that you don't ever see the good qualities out of people or that you see the good things coming from people, but you will see Satan come out in certain ways. Maybe it's during an argument that you have with somebody. Perhaps it's somebody who is giving you backhanded compliments, somebody who's just trying to tear you down. Just know that that's not them, guys. That is Satan. And once you can understand that, once you can realize it, it doesn't necessarily mean that you just forgive, forget, and move on and act like nothing happened. But it at least brings you some realization that most people are confused. Most people do not know how to live. Most people are not aware of everything that they're doing or every single thing that they say at any given time. And that is the God honest truth. So, whoever you're calling the good guys, whoever you're calling the bad guys, just know that this is all a part of God's plan. This is just all a part of the awakening that's taking place before our very eyes. Calling people good, calling people evil is not going to help. It's not going to make things better. It's not going to turn this country around. Voting for Donald Trump is not going to just all of a sudden make everything better because he's this martyr and he's this superhero. Nor is voting for Joe Biden a second time going to fix anything. We all have to look deep inside ourselves. We have to be open and just brutally honest with ourselves to the point of being uncomfortable and and being painful, because it is very painful, but we have to do it. So anyway, guys, I got to go ahead and sign off, but I hope that you have a great rest of your day. I love you. I'll talk to you again soon.